Hello, and welcome to Customs and Courtesies, the show that brings the history behind military customs to you. I am your host, Sergeant First Class Wellington Stirrup. In today's episode, Remembering the Fallen, I am dedicating it to exploring the history, significance, and proper observance of Memorial Day. Today, we'll dive deep into this important American holiday. We'll uncover who started it, why we celebrate it, what it is not, and how we can honor the legacy of our fallen soldiers. Good evening, everyone. I hope that today finds you all well. And before I get started, I want to dedicate this episode to a friend of mine who passed away during our deployment in Afghanistan, to Sergeant Nicholas Dickhut. This one's for you, buddy. So let's get into the origins of Memorial Day. So let's start with the origins of Memorial Day. The roots of this holiday date back to the aftermath of the American Civil War, a conflict that most of us know claimed more lives than any other war in U.S. history. And because of this, it necessitated the establishment of the country's first national cemeteries. In the years following the Civil War, Americans in various towns and cities began holding springtime tributes to these countless fallen soldiers, decorating their graves with flowers and even reciting prayers. One of the earliest known instances of this was in Charleston, South Carolina, in 1865. Freed slaves and others gathered to honor Union soldiers who had died in a Confederate prison camp. However, the first widespread observance that is directly linked to today's Memorial Day was on May 30th, 1868. A general by the name of John A. Logan, the leader of an organization for Northern Civil War veterans called the Grand Army of the Republic, declared this day as Decoration Day. Logan chose the date because it wasn't the anniversary of any particular battle, thus ensuring that the day would commemorate all soldiers who died in the conflict. Which leads us into our next segment. Memorial Day becomes a national holiday. For several decades, Decoration Day was primarily celebrated in the North, while the South had its own separate days for honoring the Confederate dead. This began to change during and after World War I, when the holiday evolved to commemorate American military personnel who died in all wars, not just the Civil War. Now, I'm going to take a side note to mention that after World War I concluded, it became a holiday in many of our allied partners' countries known as Remembrance Day. So for them, November 11th is their Memorial Day. But for us, we already had one. And so the name Memorial Day began to be more commonly used after World War II. It wasn't until 1967 that it became the official name by federal law. In 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which established Memorial Day as the last Monday in May in order to create a 3-day weekend for federal employees. This change went into effect in 1971, and Memorial Day was declared a federal holiday. Now, this is important because, as I noted, Veterans Day is November 11th for us here in the United States, and we'll get more into that as we go along for segment 3. But for now, just know that this day is our Remembrance Day, which moves us on to the next segment. Now, for this next segment, I don't want people to take this as me trying to put anybody down, but more or less of me just trying to educate the masses as to understanding what Memorial Day is not. So, before we discuss how to honor fallen soldiers, it's essential to clarify what Memorial Day is not. Many people often confuse Memorial Day with Veterans Day, and I get it, I understand. Not a lot of people in the civilian world really know many soldiers. I mean, sure, we all have family members here and there who have served, but still, the numbers, they're nowhere near equal. So many civilians often will confuse Memorial Day with Veterans Day, and they will thank soldiers for their service. And quite frankly, you can thank me when I'm dead, but I'm not dead yet. So please, this is for our fallen. And while I chuckle, I think it's important that we understand that it's not Veterans Day. So, just please understand that. Because there are some veterans out there who, they get a little upset and angry when people do that. But that's not my goal. My goal is to bring awareness and to educate the masses. So, while many people do often confuse Memorial Day with Veterans Day, and while both holidays honor military personnel, they serve a different purpose. Veterans Day, observed on November 11th, honors all who have served in the U.S. military, while Memorial Day is specifically for remembering and honoring those who died in service to their country. And on a side note topic, there are even veterans out there who say that people who are actively serving on active duty or reserve or National Guard don't technically qualify for Veterans Day. And to educate them, I would also let them know that they are indeed wrong, because Veterans Day was established to honor those who have served and are serving. So even though you're not technically out of the military yet, if you're an active duty member like myself or others that I know, or if you're a reservist or National Guard, you're still a veteran. It still applies to you. And for the veterans out there that say it doesn't, well, I'm sorry. You're making the same mistake as the civilians out there who will say that, thank you for your service on Memorial Day. And this isn't, again, to put anybody down. It's just to bring awareness So, again, November 11th, our Veterans Day, because again, remember, our allies, their Memorial Day or Remembrance Day is November 11th. That is their Memorial Day. But for us, we already had one, right? We already had our Memorial Day, which is today, May 28th, 2024. But Veterans Day is for all who have and are serving. And Memorial Day is for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So now that I addressed that, let's go further into what it is not. Memorial Day is not just the start of summer. While Memorial Day weekend is widely considered the unofficial start of summer in the United States, it is not simply a holiday for barbecues, beach trips, and sails. Rather, while enjoying the time with family and friends is a common practice during the long weekend, the true purpose of the holiday is often overshadowed by these activities. Memorial Day is not a day for commercialism. Many businesses take advantage of the long weekend to promote sales and discounts, branding them as Memorial Day specials. While commercial activities are a normal part of holiday weekends, it is important to remember that Memorial Day is not about shopping or consumerism. The focus should remain on honoring the fallen soldiers rather than getting caught up in the commercial aspects. Memorial Day is not a day for celebrating war. It's not intended to celebrate war or military victories. Instead, it is a day to acknowledge the somber reality of the cost of war, the lives lost. It is a time to reflect on the sacrifices made by military personnel and their families, and recognize the profound impact of these losses. Memorial Day is not a political event. Although military service and foreign policy are inherently linked to politics, Memorial Day itself is not a political holiday. It transcends political affiliations and ideologies, serving as a day for all Americans to come together to honor those who have died in service to their country. It is about respect and remembrance, not political statements or debates. And it is not a happy occasion. While we often wish others a happy holiday, Memorial Day is more appropriately observed with a sense of solemnity and respect. It is a time for remembrance, not celebration. Greeting someone with Happy Memorial Day can be seen as insensitive to the true meaning of the day and to those who are mourning the losses of loved ones. So by understanding what Memorial Day is not, we can better appreciate its true purpose and ensure that our observances and activities reflect the respect and gratitude owed to those who have given their lives in military service. Now, since we have discussed that, and I hope I didn't bring down the mood or hurt anybody's feelings, let's talk about how we can honor the legacy of our fallen soldiers. So all of this may have you thinking now, how can I do this properly? Well, here's how you can honor the legacy of our fallen soldiers. 1, you can participate in Memorial Day ceremonies and attend a local Memorial Day ceremony or parade. And these events are often include poignant tributes and are public displays of gratitude. You can visit cemeteries and memorials. And many people often do this. They place flowers or flags on the graves of the fallen. Most notable of these is at the Arlington National Cemetery, where the President of the United States typically lays a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. You can go to the National Monument of Remembrance at 3 p.m. local time and pause for a moment of silence. This is a designated time to remember and honor those who have died in military service. You can support Gold Star families. The families of fallen soldiers, known as Gold Star families, deserve our support and gratitude. Consider reaching out to local organizations that assist these families. educate yourself and others. By taking time to learn about the history of Memorial Day and share this knowledge with others, understanding the sacrifices made by service members can deepen your appreciation for the freedoms we enjoy. And you can volunteer. Many veteran and military organizations need volunteers, whether it's placing flags on graves, helping with a local event, or supporting veterans in need. Your time and effort can make a significant difference. So now that I have discussed what you can do to honor the legacy of our fallen soldiers, I want to leave you with this. Memorial Day is a solemn reminder of the cost of our freedoms and a day to honor the ultimate sacrifices made by so many. As we enjoy our gatherings and activities, let's not forget to take time to remember and honor those who have given their lives for our country. Thank you for joining me on Customs and Courtesies in this episode of Remembering the Fallen. I am your host, Sergeant First Class Wellington Stirrup, and I hope that this podcast provided a deeper understanding of Memorial Day and inspired you to observe it with the respect and reverence it deserves. Until next time, let's continue to honor and remember.